So, hello. It is October 13th and it's just about 5 o'clock. We're looking at 4:56 and Mila's been napping. My little one has been napping for about an hour now. So, I have been looking at jobs and just kind of trying to make sense of what I'm going to do next. So, I was working at a job previously. I only actually worked there for like a month in all honesty, so it was like a really quick little thing that I was doing. But I actually let them know that I would not be coming back this week. I actually let them know that I would not be coming back, and it was like a pretty big source of anxiety for me because obviously I need the paycheck, but realistically, with all the expenses that were incurred working there, I really wasn't clearing very much a week. Like, I wasn't actually making enough to really cover what I had set out to do when taking that job. So it just actually seemed to be not worth it. So that's been hard. Kind of just like feeling like a failure in that sense. But the good news is that I have been able to, don't mind me, I'm like rat's nesting my hair. It's just up in like a very awkward, like lower ponytail. But anyway, that was really stressful for me, the whole experience from when I got the job. They let me know on a Thursday night that I got the job, and then they expected me to report to training in Virginia that Sunday night. So it was just like really quick, and then from there it was like a really intense training, and like I'm talking like crazy intense training. People didn't make it, like it was all closed book testing, which I've never actually encountered in a professional setting before, so I thought that that was honestly just kind of weird. It was just a really brutal job, and so once I actually started doing it, the first thing that I noticed was just how kind of like the tone towards my position was. It was very much like work. And so what bothered me the most about it was when I interviewed with them, they did tell me that I would have to work like through the busy season, that I would have to have hours on Saturday, but that I would have 2 days off per week. So I was like, okay, like I'm just working Saturdays, but that's fine. And then I had been in training for a couple days, and the trainers just started referencing how we'd only have 1 day off a week. And I was like, well, that's not really what I signed up for, right? Because it really isn't what I signed up for. And then they had told us that we were going to do training Monday to Saturday, and then we were just going to have Sunday off, so only 1 day that week. And then we were going to finish training on Thursday, right? So I think kind of everybody would just assume that we would have had Friday off, right? The weekend, since we had been traveling, we hadn't been home, and we had worked 6 days a week before. But no, that's not what they meant. They actually let us go on Thursday, and then we had to be working Friday morning and Saturday. So we had to pull, including like no break for traveling, we had to work 2 6-day work weeks. And like the days were really long too. Like I'm talking like the shortest day was probably 9-10 hours. So it was intense. It was so grueling. And then when you started back, you had to report to do, there was so much. It was honestly so much. And I was doing my best, and I had a couple deals canceled because the financing didn't go through. And it just kind of like demoralized my soul, to be completely honest, because I went into every meeting just knowing that I wanted to upsell, I wanted to do all the things, and then it was just so horrible that like I would do everything and not have a turnaround. So really what like was the icing on the cake is I was having a little bit of a hard time. And it was October, right? October 1st had rolled around. So you start out at 0. And then I just felt like things were like so negative. And that was probably like the hardest part, was just the negativity. And then I had spoken to my assistant manager about a particular customer situation, and he said it in like a veiled way to be like positive, but he basically said, well, you can only go up from here because you can't do any worse than you're doing right now. And I was like, that's like such a mean thing to say. And there were other things that were said kind of in the same vein like that, just super insulting and just demoralizing. So factoring in the super long hours to where like it was a salaried position and you were just basically being worked to the bone. So when I factored in what it actually would be per hour, that's what made me just want to quit, because I was like, you know what, my time is worth more than this. Because, I mean, it's one thing if I wasn't being treated like crap, but I was also being treated like crap, and it just wasn't worth it to me. So now I'm probably going to have to move out of my apartment because I'm not working right now so much. I have other like side things, but it's not enough right now. And I had been telling my mom about, there was like so many other things that happened, honestly, where I was just like, wow, this really isn't a good fit for me right now. So my mom was kind of like negative about the whole thing when I was talking to her about it. And then I told her that I had told them that it wasn't a good fit. Like basically I told her that I quit. And she was just really mean. She was like super mean. She started literally like a cyclone of finger pointing and accusations and just like just saying really horrible, mean things to me, attacking me as a person, like going for the juggler. And I was really surprised by that, in all honesty, just because it was such an inappropriate way to treat anyone. And especially like considering that we had talked, like she kind of knew the whole situation that I was going through with the work thing. And then on top of that, just in general, like where I am in my life right now is like things are challenging, to put it very mildly. And that's the one thing like I was thinking about. My mom will kick you when you're down. And when she's kicking you while you're down, she'll come at it in a way where it's almost like she thinks she's doing you a favor. And my older sister is very similar to that too. I've read so many books where that particular type of behavior is like spelled out, and so I know why they're like that, right? Like I know the psychological disposition that they both have. But it still hurts. Like it's still, and the thing, I feel like I'm always trying to like go out of my way to be supportive to them. And it's just hard because like I've needed their help this last year. So anytime that my mom is in a position where like she knows that you're dependent or needing on her, I notice that it kind of exacerbates, I can't say the word, but it like makes it worse for some reason. And that's one of the things why like with living with her, she just turns into a different person. She becomes like obsessed with your every move, everything that you eat, she becomes obsessed with. She feels like she is owed like a day-by-day itinerary of everything that you do, and she's just an overly invasive human being that doesn't respect boundaries and isn't self-aware enough in social situations to know when she's being difficult to be around. And, you know, it manifests itself in a lot of different ways in her life. She struggles to keep relationships with people her own age. She sometimes struggles to even leave the house. She has hoarder mentality. Like, it's just, there's a lot going on there with her. And that's what she said on the phone. She said, "Oh, you're my worst critic." And I was like, well, first of all, my dad's a bigger critic of her than I could ever be, and there's other people that are much bigger critics. But where I come in to be a critic is because she emotionally and physically abused me for most of my life. So, I mean, as much as, like, you can say I'm being a critic, like, you emotionally abused me, and you physically abused me, and you're my mom. And, I mean, obviously that's going to mess someone up in the head just a bit. And, you know, what's hard is, even to this day, I feel like when she sees an opportunity to inflict her emotional abuse, she will take the shot every single time. And that's kind of like what I felt like it was. It's always veiled by either, you know, oh, I'm doing it because I want to help you, or, you know, there's always a reason for the mistreatment in her own mind. I don't think she actually buys it, but, you know, it is what it is. So after she basically told me that I was a bad mom, and I'm thinking that she meant I was a bad mom for quitting the job, even though that doesn't make much sense, because in keeping that job, it was actually worse for me and Mila, and I wasn't making enough for what I needed anyway, so it really wasn't, in my mind, appropriate to say that that made me a bad mom. It's weird, because I just think in her own mind she goes back and forth between like actual reality and this very paranoid, angry place that she puts herself in, where everybody's an enemy. And it's like, if she's with me at the moment, then I'm the ally and everybody else is the enemy. If she's with, you know, fill in the blank, it's a very adversarial way to look at reality. And that's, I think, where she was coming at, because she sounded like when she's in one of those, it's almost like a manic episode that just takes over her. Like, I've seen it many times where when she gets into this mindset, it's just like a rabid animal. There's no way to, like, talk sense into them. And there's no way to actually find out if what she's saying is based in fact. At least for me, when I was asking her, like, questions to clarify what she was saying, and, like, where did those ideas stem from, it was very much non-specific. It was just very, I think I used the word, like, mystical to describe the way that she was speaking, because it was very much like, it wasn't episodal. It wasn't things that actually happened. She would have, like, one example of something, and then it would just be, like, other things that didn't actually happen, but maybe she perceived to be true. So, for example, she accused me of lying to her all the time. That's what she said. So I asked her specifically what she thought I was lying about, and she could think of one thing. And so she had said that I lied to her, right? And she thought I lied to her for one instance. So because of one instance where she perceived me to be lying, then she felt validated in saying that I want to live the single life. That's what she said to me. And that all I care about is guys, right? So I asked her what was to support me only caring about guys, right? And that's where she couldn't really give me anything. So then I asked about something to support her saying that I want to live the single life, and she had nothing. She had no way to back that up. So with that, it's like she takes one little thing that she perceives to be reality and then spirals it way out of control into this, like, much bigger issue that didn't actually happen that she's attacking me for. And that's what makes it really difficult to talk about, because there's really no way to even have, like, a actual rational conversation about it. It just becomes so blown out of proportion. And then, like, for me, anytime I try to actually just keep it on, like, the topic that she brought up, then she starts throwing everything else. Like, so basically, she said that, like, she was blaming me for what happened with Mila's biological father. And for me, that kind of hurts, just because I certainly tried to help him with his alcoholism. I was really trying to be helpful and pull him out of that, and, you know, encourage him to get whatever help or support he needed. But what she said, which was particularly disturbing, was she was saying that the person that I'm talking to right now is just like him, and that I'm doing the same thing over and over again, so I'm going to put Mila through it twice. That is clearly a very hurtful thing to say to somebody that just told you that they went through a really hard decision of not going back to a job that was, like, killing them, right? Probably not, like, I don't know, what most parents' first thought would be in that situation to throw on them. And I was like, well, how are you saying that I'm doing the same thing? And what she said was, because when we used to date, before I moved to New York, she said that I would cook for him. And she couldn't even get to her own kitchen because I was always cooking for him. Now, clearly that's not true, because it's impossible for me to be in the kitchen cooking 24/7. It's just stupid. And maybe once or twice I was cooking when she decided she wanted to cook. And very likely the reason she wanted to cook is because I was cooking and she knew she couldn't, because that's the type of person that she is. But in her mind, she felt like it was a rational thing to say to me in that moment, that because I used to cook for Alex, if I cook for David, then I'm turning David into Alex by treating him the same way. At least I think that's what she was trying to say. Or maybe what it sounded like she was implying in some ways too, is that, like, I'm, like, desperately lashing out to grab onto a guy. And that's also not true. I mean, I don't actually give attention to most people that reach out to me in that capacity. Like, if you were to check my Facebook or Instagram messages right now, you can clearly see that I am not jumping at every apple. I am talking to somebody. I'm talking to a guy named David, and for whatever reason, from the very beginning that I started talking to any guys, my parents felt a very strong way about it. I talked to this other guy before I even moved to New Jersey, right? And it was nothing. I didn't even kiss him. Like, it was so nothing at all. It was just companionship. Like, I had just found out that I had been cheated on throughout my entire pregnancy. That there were so many things. And I just really wanted somebody who wasn't connected to my life at all, and a guy to just kind of, like, have around and talk to. And I made it really clear I didn't lead them on. I didn't say anything other than I was just very recently out of that kind of a situation, and that I was just looking for, like, a friend. If it turned into something down the road, I would be open to that, but I definitely wasn't interested in it turning into anything then. And the same thing, they were like, oh, you're just running off into somebody else. It's like, no, I'm actually not, though. And then when I moved to New Jersey, that guy was really nice, but he ended up being, like, a little bit weird because, I don't know, he got, like, really angry when I told him that we were moving, and I explained to him the whole situation and why that was, like, a good step for me at the time. And he would always, like, fight with me. It was very strange. He always wanted to fight and just be, like, super dramatic, which I personally was not a huge fan of. So anyway, when I moved to New Jersey, I was talking to people. And, like, the reality is, the only thing that is based in truth is, like, I do talk to guys. It's the truth. Like, since I became single, I was talking to guys. I'm not bringing the guys around Mila, just because that's not something I would do. But I've been talking to David we started talking in December. So it's legitimately 10 months. So, yes, he has met Mila. He's great with Mila. He's amazing with Mila. He's a sweetheart. And he's never, like, tried to trap me at all. Like, he has not tried to trap me. So I don't know why they're nervous about him trying to trap me. I would say the only thing about him that is a little bit difficult to navigate is he had a really hard life. He was mistreated by a lot of people in his life that should have been giving him love, and instead they just were horrible to him. And he does have trust issues. I think he actually trusts me, though. I think he does trust me, which he should trust me, because I'm, like, the most trustworthy person. I'm not trying to hurt anyone. I'm not trying to be an asshole. And if I wasn't feeling it, I mean, clearly I told the kid in New York I wasn't feeling it. I told people down here I wasn't feeling it. It's just what it is. But I do like him. I don't know, I'm scared. I'm super scared for anything realistically going on between us, to the point that I'm, like, scared even to be all, like, lovey-dovey, I love you type of thing. But given how I've been treated, like, it makes sense, right? I'm not going to jump onto something. That's what they're trying to make it sound like. I am super desperate, and I am just, like, begging for a guy's attention so that I can leech off of them and not have to work hard. And that offends me that that's what they think of me. It really does offend me. And it offends me that I feel as though, as much as they've been helping support me, there's been nothing but strings attached and judgment. And that also hurts me. It hurts me that I just know that no matter what, that's who they're going to be. Because that's how they've always been. And nothing that you do is ever good enough for them. And it's just a shame. It just makes me sad. And the fact that my mom is, like, blaming me for what happened with my ex is just very sad, that she's that type of person that would say something that hurtful knowing that somebody's already hurting. And the fact that she would try to say that I'm a bad mom, and then, like, 2 seconds later, she's like, no, you're a great mom. It's like, well, make up your mind. Because if you're going to say that I'm a bad mom, at least have, like, a reason to back it up. Because I pour everything that I have into Mila. And I'm, like, here for her. Aside from the past month when I couldn't be because I was working so much, she doesn't even take her naps on her own. She's always in my arms. Like, I go so far out of my way to love her and to give her what she needs. And I'm not dropping everything for a guy. Do I think that I like to have a man in my life? Of course I do. Because I love guys. I'm attracted to them. Like, specifically right now, it's David. I really like him. Is he perfect? No, he is not perfect. But I do feel like he's a really good person. And if I found out he's not a good person and he was lying to me or fill in the blank with whatever, negative things a person could do to somebody else, then I would just be grateful for the time that we did get to spend together, because I've had such a good time with him. I think he's very, I was going to say the word cool, but, like, that doesn't really even, like, quantify what I'm trying to say. I just think that he's really sweet, as far as he could know what somebody's going through, and he's very empathetic and understanding, and he's been through some shit, so he knows how to draw that line between empathizing with somebody, but also being like, you got this, you can do it, kind of thing. And I mean, he always just knows the right thing to do. Like I listen to a lot of the advice that he gives me because it's proven that he does know what he's talking about, and I really value having that. I just like to be around him. He's smart, and that's the other thing that I like about him, because when he talks, it's like usually he'll think about something from different perspectives, different angles, and then kind of like assess the whole situation, and that's what he draws from, which I respect. I think he's super handsome, and he's just like, I don't know, I just like him. So one of the main things when I first started talking to him that I noticed was just that, like, mentally he is a deep thinker, and I like deep thinkers. And he was also like whimsical a little bit, like he would like play along with things, and he was funny. I don't know why they have such a problem with him. I mean, he is insecure, and I think at first he definitely took things about my personality like the wrong way. Like, he assumed that I was like probably flirtier than I really am. Like, I initially showed him the like, I'm interested, Joan. So he obviously would assume that that's what people get when they talk to me. But the reality is most people don't get that from me, because I'm not usually interested in them, even if I find them attractive. It's not just being attractive. Like, maybe when I was first single, I was like, oh my god. Just because I didn't talk to other people, so all of a sudden I'm talking to these guys that are super hot, and I was just like, the kid I actually ended up talking to and hanging out with in New York was not one of those guys. I purposely didn't hang out with the guys that I thought were super hot in New York, because I hadn't had sex in a long time, and I was just like, I'm not hanging out with anybody that I would have sex with, because I just don't feel like even introducing that, like where I was. And then when I moved to New Jersey, it was the same thing. Like, I was just like, oh my gosh. Like, one guy I thought looked like a character from my favorite TV show. And he was just like super tall and broad and blah, 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 blah. So I was just like, whatever. Flattered by talking to him. And that's kind of what it is. Like, sometimes I'm just flattered by the guys that I'm talking to. But with David, I did think he's super attractive. But I just, like, more than anything else, I really liked his personality. And then I also thought he was super slamming. Like, I remember the first time that we hung out, it was, like, dark. And I remember so I went to go to the bathroom, and I remember looking in the mirror and just being like, oh my god, every horrible thing that Alex put me through was so worth it just to get to this moment, hang out with him. But that's not to say that I'm some dumb bitch who's like so obsessed with him that I would accept being treated like shit, because I don't. Like, if somebody wants to treat me like shit, they can. Anyway, so this is a really long introspective view into what I'm going through right now. I'm hoping that over the next, like, day or two, or whatever, I end up finding really good employment that is 40 hours a week, because I'm not doing this 60 hours a week thing anymore. Shh, be quiet. Yeah. Now, the only thing I will say that's been pretty amazing is the coffee that I sell. Because so many people have been reaching out to me and thanking me for it. And it makes me feel so good that people are thanking me for introducing them to something that has truly helped them and truly changed their life. Like, my friend, I think it was 2 days ago, messaged me and was like, listen, it's my 6th-year wedding anniversary. I tried on my wedding dress, and it doesn't even fit. It is way too big. So she was telling me she lost 23 pounds. That made me feel amazing. My other friend has been trying to get past a certain weight goal for 3.5 years, and he has not been able to do it. So he reached out to me and was like, this is amazing. Like, at first when you were telling me about it, I thought it was too good to be true. But he's been, I think, 3 months now, 2 or 3 months that he's been on it, and he hit that goal. My dad hit his weight loss goal. Like, a lot of people are really doing well. So the weight loss has been great, but then people just saying, like, my one friend was really depressed for going on, I think, probably like 2-3 years, same thing, like since I was up in New York. And she's telling me she tried everything, working out, going to therapy, da-da-da-da. And those things are also great for your health, right? You should not do that. But then she was telling me, since she started doing the whole thing, Bud. Sorry, he's literally trying everything he can to wake up Mila. But anyway, so he was, everybody that's, my friend, yeah, who was really depressed, she was telling me that she started taking it, and about like a week and a half, 2 weeks into it is when she started, because at first she said, she was like, is it in my head? Am I really feeling better? Like, she wasn't sure. And then she said after that point, it was like a week and a half, 2 weeks, she realized that it had been like that time frame since she had had one of her like really bad days, and she hasn't had one since. So throughout all of this, I am just really grateful that that's been beneficial. I've been taking a break from some of my other things that I was doing, and honestly, it's just because I haven't had a matter of time. But the coffee is the one thing that is like so cool, because I'll just get like a random text message and it'll be like, you've been paid, or it'll be like, you have a new customer. It's cool just to create something that is, you know, pretty low maintenance as far as like you just tell people about it. For me, what I did is I just started like finding people on Facebook and commenting like if they were looking for something. And it wasn't even super salesy, honestly, because at this point in my mind, it's like you really are doing yourself a favor trying it, and I'm doing you a favor letting you know that it's even out there, because a lot of people don't know about it. And the reality is, most of what is out there is bullshit, and it's super regimented. You have to cut out what you eat, you can't eat, or you know what I mean? Like, there's so many rules. And this is literally, you just drink it. The first couple days, you do want to do half a cup at each time instead of like a full cup. That's it. That's really it. Like, your first 3 days, just do a half a cup twice a day. And then after that, just do a full cup whenever you want, once a day. I always recommend people the first couple days too to drink like a big thing of water beforehand. So really, you think about it, it's you drink water, that's it. I mean, I think it's pretty much agreed upon that you should be drinking water anyway. And most people are already drinking coffee. So in that sense, it doesn't really make sense not to try it, because everybody who does try it loves it. Anyway, so that's been going really well. But aside from that, I kind of feel like everything else is. And I'm sure it's just feeling that way right now. I'm sure I'll feel better tomorrow. It's just a little bit difficult because I feel like I'm sort of stuck. But anyways, LMK. Oh yeah. I was going to try to just like keep this video journal. So I can look back on it, I guess, when I'm older or when Mila's older, and just kind of remember what I went through. And I'm sure I'll probably regret quitting that job, because whatever. But it was the most miserable I've ever been in my life. I hated it. It was the worst thing I've ever done.